Nandipa, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair.
How are you?
I'm good, and yourself, Chair?
Well, thank you so much. How are we doing in terms of quorum
Oh, Chair, we only have 2 members, Chair.
so far?
Yes, Chair.
Okay.
Good evening, Honorable Chair.
Good evening, General. How are you, sir?
No, fine, thanks. And how are you, sir?
I'm okay. Thank you so much. You're most
I
welcome.
just wanted to confirm that on our side, we do have a quorum. Thank you very much.
The quorum is welcomed. I will suggest we start. I can see members will be logging in a few minutes. The time now is almost 1 minute past 6. Let me thank everyone on the platform.
Recording in progress.
Thank everyone for taking their time out to come to this meeting. It's the meeting of the Joint Standing Committee on Defense. We only have one item in the main. One item, it's the briefing by the military ombuds on its mid-year performance and expenditure and community engagement during domestic SANDF deployments. And of course, we do have preliminaries, opening and welcome and apologies. And we'll then, once we are done with this one item, we'll then deal with minutes, consider and adopt minutes, and we close the meeting. There are 5 items, but there's only one substantive item, as it were, or an item that will be presented by an external body. That's the situation. I haven't seen the Deputy Minister on the platform yet. Maybe let's take apologies. Are there any apologies, Miss Matlakwana?
Evening again, Chair. Evening to members and everyone in the platform. I've got an apology from Mr. Mare, Mr. Mafanya, Mr. Ryder, and Mr. Ebekulu. And also an apology from Dr. Willem, the content advisor. He will join us late, Chair. He's traveling home from a meeting in Parliament, Chair.
Okay. All right. Look, the DM is not going to be in the meeting this evening, so let's register his apology as well. All right. Be that as it may, I think let me welcome the military ombuds and ask him to take us through the mid-year performance and expenditure and community engagement during the internal deployments. Over to you, General. You may then introduce a team. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Defense. In this meeting, I'm joined by members of my management team. And I want to then tender an apology for my deputy who's not well. But other members who are here of my management team is Mr. Mtetwa, who's Chief Director Operations, Mr. Bear, Director Intake and Investigation. Sorry, Intake and Analysis, sorry. And Mr. Jonas, Director Investigations. Mr. Makhalemela, Chief Corporate Support. And our planner in the office, Ms. Lindy Classens, and our IT man, Moffat. Thank you, sir. If you'd permit me then, sir, I would then commence with the presentation.
Please do.
Are you ready, Moffat? Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Chair and members. The aim of our presentation is actually to report to the Joint Standing Committee on Defense on our performance for the first 6 months of the year, that is 1 April to 30 September. And that performance will include the expenditure of the office, and also will touch on the community engagements during domestic SANDF deployments. To do this, we'll start by introducing the presentation, and then we'll give a high-level overview of the performance, and then we'll drill down to the detail in terms of that performance, covering the manner of finalization, contacts logged, nature of complaints, categories of complaints received, profile of complainants, complaints per service division and the public, the geographic spread of the complaints, rank level of complainants, and then gender distribution. We'll then go on to present on the office outreach program, which will then cover the issue of our interaction with or engagement with members of the community during domestic SANDF deployments. We'll then go on to discuss the expenditure up to the 30th of September. We'll conclude the presentation and therefore be ready to take questions or listen to comments that are made. Honorable Chair, by way of introduction, I would like to state the following. The Office of the Military Ombud is an independent statutory body established in terms of the Military Ombud Act number 4 of 2012, and is therefore mandated to investigate and resolve complaints independently and impartially, and must perform its functions in good faith and without fear, favor, bias, or prejudice, subject to the Constitution and the law. Through the implementation of the outreach program, stakeholder engagements, and our participation in national events, the office ensures that members and former members of the SANDF are informed of their fundamental rights, and members of the public educated about the expected official conduct of members of the SANDF. This is evident in the growth of the office, owing to improvements in the investigation turnaround times and reduction of carryover complaints. Now, looking at the high-level performance of the office, I would like to draw the attention of the committee to the performance indicator in this regard, which is a percentage of written complaints resolved fairly economically and expeditiously within the office of the Military Ombud. Our annual target is 75%, and this target is divided into quarterly targets, which are cumulative. And therefore, if we look at the first quarter, the target there was 18.75%, and we're able to attain 38.6%. And then in terms of the second quarter, which covers the first 6 months of the year, the target was 37.5%, and we're able to attain 49.75%. Next slide, please. Looking at the caseload that we had for the period, we had in total 199 complaints or cases that we're dealing with. Of that 199, 73 are cases that we carried over from the previous year, and 126 are the complaints that we received in year. By 30 September, we were able to resolve 99 of those complaints, 26 coming from the 73 cases that were carried over, and 73 from the 126 complaints received in year. And therefore, as at 30 September, we had a caseload of 100 complaints made out of 47 cases that were carried over, and 53 of those that we received in year. In this slide, we are trying to emphasize what we were saying in the previous slide by using bar charts and pointing out that we opened the year with 73 carryover cases, and we then received up to the 30th 126 complaints, which made a total caseload of 199 complaints. We were able to finalize 99, and therefore we had by then 100 active cases. Looking at the manner of finalization, 19 of the complaints were dismissed on merit, that is after full investigation, and we realized that the complaint was without merit. And one complaint was dismissed because it was a matter decided in a court of law, and therefore we had no jurisdiction over that. And 6 of the complaints we declined jurisdiction because those were lost very late. And 37 of these also we declined jurisdiction because members had not exhausted the internal grievance system, and therefore we couldn't proceed with those. Otherwise, we'll be undermining the chain of command. And of course, 25 of the complaints were referred to the sister institutions that were better suited to deal with those. 7 of the complaints we actually upheld and therefore recommended remedial action to the minister. And one case we were able to resolve through alternative dispute resolution. And this is a method we try to actually utilize for quick wins, where we can save time on investigation if the parties actually are able to reach an agreement. One case was withdrawn, and then the others we couldn't proceed because the complainant was not cooperating with the office, and one was a duplicate. Honorable Chair, we also monitor the modes of contact that complainants contact the office to be able to determine how many of the complaints result from those contacts. In terms of walking and inquiries, we had 51, which resulted in 24 complaints. And with respect to telephone inquiries, we had 109, with the result of 32 complaints. And with electronic inquiries, 37, which resulted in 5 complaints. Looking at the nature of complaints, the majority of complaints, 113, are actually about conditions of service. And 3 of those were official conduct and 10 other. In the category of other, this includes, for instance, matters that do not fall within the jurisdiction of the office. Looking then in terms of what the complaints were about, 3 of those were about the official conduct of members of the SANDF, and 10 were falling under the category of other. And it is important to note that the majority of those complaints, 33, were about service benefits, which include issues like pension, leave, and medical, and followed by service termination, 19 cases, remuneration, 14, and then the rest as depicted in the slide. Thank you. Looking at the profile of complainants, 51% of those current members, with 44 being former members, and 5% members of the public. We also look at where the complaints originate from in terms of service or division. And the majority of complaints, they come from the Army, 55, because the Army is the biggest service, followed up by the Air Force, and then by SAMS. Although SAMS is smaller than the Navy, but in the SAMS, we still have legacy issues of OSD, which generated a lot of complaints. And of course, the Navy with 12 complaints, and the divisions with the smaller number of complaints as shown there. We also, as an office, try to track the geographic spread of actually complaints, because this helps us in terms of planning our outreach programs. So as you would see on the slide there, that the majority of those 55 were from Gauteng, followed by the Eastern Cape with 14, Western Cape with 13, and then the others are shown there on the slide. In terms of rank level of complainants, it's important to note that in terms of the officers, senior officers, actual complaints from them are more than those of junior officers, 17 vis-a-vis 8 of the junior officers. And in terms of warrant officer and non-commissioned ranks, we can see that 59 of the complaints come from NCOs and 17 from warrant officers. This is a worrying trend because the senior officers and warrant officers and NCOs are supposed to be the ones who are helping the juniors with their complaints. So if they themselves are aggrieved, it points out to a serious problem or challenge. Looking at the gender distribution, 83% of the complainants were male and 17 female. Now coming to the officer outreach program. This is divided into three categories. The first category being the outreach we conduct during mission readiness training, where we then educate members who are about to be deployed about their condition of service and also sensitize them of the expected behavior when they are deployed. The second category is public activation. This is where we are invited by other departments to join them in terms of the outreach, and this has been very beneficial for the office. And the last category is outreach activation and pop-up offices as per plan of the office. And we'll see, therefore, that in terms of mission readiness induction, 31 outreach were conducted, public activation 12, and those according to our plan were 9. And these outreach programs covered 7 of the 9 provinces in our country, which is Eastern Cape, Free State, Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, Mpumalanga, and Northwest. Now in the latter part of the year, we're also looking at the Northern Cape and Western Cape. In terms of mission readiness training, I would like to state the following: that the partnership that we have with the Joint Operation Division is quite beneficial, because it provides us a platform to be able to then educate members who are about to deploy about the mandate of the office and sensitize them about their human rights as soldiers. The program has also given the office an opportunity to engage with soldiers, not only on issues pertaining to their conditions of service, but also how they should conduct themselves professionally within the public domain. Of course, we have had some interaction as well with the Border Management Agency, and we know that PMA, they deploy alongside SANDF members, and therefore the intention is that when they do receive complaints about SANDF soldiers, they are therefore able to channel those to our office. Looking therefore at the outreach program in terms of mission readiness training, we're able to cover the following provinces: Limpopo, Mpumalanga, Free State, Northwest, and KZN, and at the units as indicated, and also on the dates as indicated on the slide. Coming to public activations, as part of creating awareness in communities within the borders of South Africa, the office had unsolicited broadcasting interviews with community radio stations, which included Makado FM, Energy FM, which is in Polokwane, Choice FM in Thohoyandou, and various media statements were issued during these outreach engagement. And also I need to point out that through our partnership with municipalities, government communication and information system, and other departments were able to conclude public activations during presidential imbizos, public participation events, national days, and other municipality community engagements. And public activations were conducted in many places that are covering Gqeberha, Makanda, Mthatha, Bloemfontein, Soweto, Mtubatuba, Hoedspruit, Ladysmith, Potchefstroom, Welkom, and Thohoyandou. Of course, the information was also distributed about the office to the GCIS two centers. We estimate that about 1,463 members of the public were reached through these public activations. I also need to point out that we, as an office, were invited by the city of Johannesburg Ombudsman to join them in their activations around Gauteng. The relations the office has with other Chapter 9 institutions or similar institutions are of paramount importance as these give the office easy access to diverse communities. This partnership also will help create awareness about the office in those areas where SANDF soldiers are deployed in support of the police to fight the Zama Zama sketch. In terms of then the public activations, we're able to conduct these in Gauteng, Limpopo, Eastern Cape, Free State, and KwaZulu-Natal. Coming to outreach activation and that are conducted as a plan of the office, I just need to also point out that because we don't have regional offices, then we try to close that gap by way of pop-up offices. And presently, I mean, during the period under review, we're able to cover 2,088 soldiers in the various military bases. And of course, with those, we were able to cover the provinces of Limpopo, Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, as depicted in the slides that are also following them. I would like now to discuss the expenditure of the office. And this has been pegged out score requirements. And I would like to start at the top there in terms of compensation of employees and goods and services. We had a revised appropriation of 40.1 million. And it's important to take note of the fact that by 30 September, we're beginning to actually expend on that item because we spent 22 million instead of the 40 that was required if we're fully funded. And of course, in terms of goods and services, we're struggling with the expenditure in that area because of dependence on the procurement systems of the Department of Defense. Now, in terms of transfers and subsidies, we're able to pay about 1,000 for TV and radio licenses. And in terms of households, which cover termination benefits, we paid 72,000. And in terms of provincial and local government, that is vehicle licenses, we paid there around 10,000. Coming to construction and capital asset purchases, we spent 210,000 in terms of machinery and equipment. That is covering issues like photocopying machine, cameras, and sound recorders. In conclusion, I would like to state that the office will continue to fulfill its statutory mandate to promote the fundamental rights of serving and former members concerning their conditions of service, as well as the general public regarding the official conduct of members of the SANDF. Furthermore, the office will ensure the effective and efficient resolution of complaints within set time frames through continued improvements of investigation turnaround times, something we're really working hard on. And finally, through the implementation of the outreach program, stakeholder engagements, and our participation in national events, the office will ensure promotion of its image and mandate to our complainants. Thank you very much, Chair. We are now ready to take questions.
Thank you very much, General. Colleagues, the matter is on the table. May I request that you take down the presentation? Thank you. Right, colleagues, are there any comments on the report as presented?
Chair.
Yes, Mr. Kwasi.
Thank you very much, Chair. Mine is to note the presentation as given to me. And Chair, because I was in and out, as I logged back in, I heard there was some challenge about something about the BMA. So may I kindly, if I'll not be taking the meeting back, kindly get the part where the BMA also becomes part of the problem, or the issue of the BMA was raised. I am sorry for that.
Okay. Yes, no, it's fine. The military ombuds will come back on that one. The reason why she is taking interest in the matter, General, is because she sits on Home Affairs as well. So that's the reason why the member seems to be interested in this one. If there's a challenge, she would want to know what that challenge is, and so that they at least attend to it on the other side. All right. The military ombuds will come back on that one. Thanks, Mr. Kwasi. Mr. Shelembe.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. I think the presentation, is clear. But, Chair, I'm just checking because I heard that some of the complaints could not be considered because of the extreme late, submission. Now, I just want to know within how long are they expected to lodge the complaint? And two, are the members fully aware of that they should lodge their complaint within that period of time? Because I think if you say that number of complaints, it tells there is a problem. I just want to know within how long. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Motapo, Chair.
Ms. Motapo.
Thank you very much, Chairperson and colleagues and officials. And let me start by commending the Ombudsman for a well-crafted report, very clear, very informed. I only have one question, whether they have an intention to expand to provinces, taking into account that most of the provinces like Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, very remote and rural. They are far from the head office and therefore they are denied. In terms of access, I don't think that will be very nice for them to do walk-ins. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, no, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mchapo. Miss Petle?
Thank you, Chairperson. Good evening, everyone on the platform, and hope let me also echo the same sentiments that my colleagues has said. The report is straightforward, loud and clear. But Chair, my concern is this perpetual overspending and vis-a-vis the budget itself. What is that? The question is that, what is that? Do they have any mechanism, or are they thinking about something that they can put together to ensure that in the coming financial year, they don't face these constraints of overspending before the end of the year? Because that in itself, it shows like, I don't know, I don't have a better word, but I shouldn't say this, but it's a worrying factor. If from time to time we are overspending prior the right time of finishing, what plan do we put in place to try and overcome that challenge? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I thank you very much. I agree with the colleagues. The report was clear and straight to the point. My two questions. One is the chronic under expenditure against goods and services, which is largely because of challenges in the procurement processes, because you have to rely on the department for that service, the Department of Defense. How do you think we can help to try and resolve that problem, so that the delay doesn't impact negatively on the work of the entity? We are doing so well, despite your goods and services budget not moving at the required speed. So it means that you would do more if that problem was addressed. So I'm trying to understand, how can we assist that process? I don't know whether it will help for you to have your own small unit that does procurement. In the department, I know that there are about 73 units in the Department of Defense. There are 73 units, each one having its own delegations, up to a certain amount. It means that they can procure without going through the central office. If they can do that, what is stopping that delegation to be given to the entity, at least up to a certain amount? Only when you want to go beyond that amount that you go to the shared service. I don't know. I'm just speaking from ignorance. And I think something can be done there. You could be one of those cost centers, whatever it is. I don't know how they call them. There were 73, you could be the 74th. But maybe with a bigger delegation, I don't know. I know that if they devolve that responsibility to you, it would mean that you must appoint people who then man that unit. That would then increase your personnel and your personnel budget. I don't know, but please just come back to us. Tell us what is it that you are looking at as a solution. You can't be complaining about this all the time, because it's manageable now, but maybe in the future, there may be something that you can't do without. And so let's try and check if we can not have this problem resolved. 1, 2, it's you have too many questions, too many complaints that were dismissed. For example, for lack of jurisdiction. If you could just explain a bit, and what do you propose as a solution? Because it's one thing to say we're not going to entertain your matter, but the problem doesn't go away. The complaint remains unresolved, and then it means that the objectives of the Act are not fulfilled in that way. So what do you propose as a way out on this one? Because the intention is to have those complaints satisfactorily resolved, so that there's justice. At the end, it's about justice. Justice must be done. In fact, must not only be seen to justice must be done. Let me just leave it at that level. So those were my 2 issues, General. I think I have no any other hand. Let me hand over to you to then deal with all these matters. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Perhaps before we proceed with responding to the question, I would just, on behalf of the office, want to acknowledge the presence of our minister in the meeting, and just to convey our greetings to her as well. We'll try and respond to the questions.
Sorry, let me thank you. Thanks for bringing it to my attention, General. May Modise? May Modise?
Chair, my apologies. I logged in very late. I was occupied elsewhere. My apologies. Thank you for acknowledging the latecomer. My apologies to the meeting. Thank you, Ombuds.
I know, something like that. No, your team is doing very well. And please just listen to the responses, because our concerns are in the questions that we have posed. So I think the responses would see how the responses address our concerns. Other than that, we are happy with the entity. Over to you, General.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I'll start with a question from Honorable Khwasa. We do not have a challenge per se with the PMA. However, our interaction with them is to try and establish the kind of relations that would allow them to actually, if they come across complaints about members of the defense force who are deployed alongside them, then they should be able then to refer those to us. So in essence, we are just trying to establish that working relations with them that would actually enhance our work. I don't know whether I've answered that satisfactorily.
I am sufficiently answered, Chair. But maybe I should ask the Ombud whether is there any difficulty in forging that relation, or is the process of having that relationship going smoothly? Or is there any intervention in maybe making the ombuds and the commissioners of the MBA to meet and have something that is tangible and solid? In simple terms, do they need intervention in forging that relationship or not?
I would say not, Honorable Khwasa, because of course the contact has been at a lower level. Perhaps it would be also ideal for me to meet with the PMA commissioner so that we formalize our relation by way of a memorandum of understanding. But that is something we'll try and do down the line. But as of now, I think my staff have actually established excellent relations with the staff of PMA. If I may proceed that.
Yes, proceed, General.
Yeah, thank you. Then the next question came from Honorable Shelembe, wanting to know if there's a stipulated time in terms of lodging complaints. I want to involve members of my staff, so I would ask Mr. Pear just to respond to that question.
Thank you, Ombud. Honorable Chair and members. Yes, the timeframes are stipulated. It flows from the portion in the Act that deals with limitation on jurisdiction, specifically Section 7.2, which provides the Ombud with certain discretionary powers, and then so 7.2c. Sorry, 7.2c. The complainant has failed to lodge a complaint within a reasonable time as prescribed. Now, these has been developed further into the detail in the regulations, and then in Regulations 4, a complaint must be lodged by a member or representative within 180 days from the date on which the grievance board made their decision known, by a former member within 180 days since becoming aware of the issue that gave rise to the complaint, and then a member of the public has 90 days. Now, should they be late, there's a process to apply to condone such late referral, and in that the Ombud would consider the degree of the lateness, the reasons, therefore, prospects of success, prejudice to parties, etc. And then based on that submission, the Ombud would make a decision, which decision is obviously reviewable in a court of law. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Pear.
And thank you.
The next question was from Honorable Mutapo, wanting to know if we're not considering expanding the footprint of the office to provinces. This is something that the office has considered in the past. But however, because of issues of budget constraint and also limitation in terms of the number of personnel that we have in the office, it proved to be difficult for us to be able to actually open regional offices. But what we are doing to close that gap is to ensure that during our outreach programs, we then open what we call the pop-up offices. That is offices that will be open in that area where we had an outreach for a period of a month, so that after the outreach program, if there are people or members of and former members of the defense who want to lodge the complaints, then they will go to the pop-up office. And we're trying to manage this carefully, because for that, we're using both our communication personnel and also operation personnel. And sometimes we do it in a way that it does not also compromise our investigations. because we always strive to attain our target of finalization of complaints. That is 75% of those that we receive.
You have just adopted the bill. So there are things that I think in a very short space of time as this committee, I think we can point out to
Mr.
be
Machapo,
positive things. That's really the
please
comment I want to make.
mute the other mic.
It's the aim.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Listening to the
Okay.
opposition.
Thank you. My apologies, General.
Yeah. If I may be allowed then to move to the next question from Honorable Petle, where she expresses concern about over spending in terms of our budget. We're over spending in terms of compensation of employees. And the reason for that, the ceiling that was placed on the office in terms of this expenditure item is such that it does not cover the number of employees that we have in the office. It's an issue that we have raised with Treasury. It's an issue that we have raised with the accounting office and the department, that is the SANDF. I think from Treasury, out of concern of the expenditure level in the bigger department, that is Department of Defense, they were trying to force the hand of the department to actually reduce the numbers. But unfortunately, I think we got caught in the crossfire where we actually also a ceiling was actually placed in terms of what we can spend in payment of the staff of the office. So this is an issue that we continue to discuss with the Treasury, and hopefully we'll find solution to it, Chair. If I may proceed then, Chair, your concerns were about now under expenditure on goods and services, and which are occasioned by the problems we are confronted with in terms of our dependency on the department procurement system. You would recall, Chair, that out of frustration about this, we wanted to pursue full independence of the office. So that we're not constrained in any area of our work. And it is something that we're still trying to pursue. We did get your support, thank you very much, as a committee. But however, the other developments, National Treasury is concerned about the number of Chapter 9 and Ombud institution. And they're now coming up with the concept of shared services, where the concept is to actually share support services between these institutions. In our case, they are trying to endorse the current arrangements where we're depending on the department. I must say this is a frustrating issue, Chair, because there's a ministerial directive that was issued in 2018, where the minister directed the department to actually make sure that the office is properly supported. We also have a memorandum of understanding with the Chief and the Secretary for Defense. However, with all those instruments, we continue to suffer in terms of our expenditure on the operational budget. And it is a source of great frustration because it's actually beginning to impact on our core business. So only last week, as we were interacting with Treasury to try and also see how best they can assist us in terms of this. They are talking about maybe having a financial delegation to the Ombud on a certain level of expenditure. But the issue is something then will have to be done in terms of managing how this delegation will function within the PFMA arrangement when there's an accounting officer of the department. And of course, they were also talking about having service level agreements where there are clauses where you can actually, if there's non-performance, lodge formal complaints and things like that. But it remains to be seen whether these are going to assist the office, because truly we have tried our best to actually sort out this problem, but it's actually proving to be intractable. So in short, there are all those considerations from Treasury as well in terms of how we can best be assisted. Now, Chair, coming to the question on too many complaints being dismissed for lack of jurisdiction. First, I need to point out that we have MOUs that are signed with sister institutions where we are then able to refer some of these complaints to those institutions. However, we've been inundated with many complaints from military veterans who are experiencing extreme frustration in terms of accessing their benefits from the department. And now they end up writing to us, and of course we refer those complaints to the Military Veterans Department. But so far that arrangement, we are not sure if it is working, because most of the time we don't even receive acknowledgement of the letters that we write to them. But it's an issue that requires some intervention. But Chair, there are also those complaints that we actually dismiss because the members have not exhausted the individual grievance system within the department. Now I'm having monthly meetings with the Chief of the National Defence Force, and I've pointed out to him that there seems to be a problem in terms of compliance with the set time frames of resolving these complaints. And now when the complaints are about bread and butter issues, that is issues like pay and all, sometimes we then take on those complaints because members cannot wait for too long for their complaints to be attended to. Otherwise, if it's just complaints about issues of promotion and others like that, we then also write to the department for them to be assisted with their grievances. I'm not sure if I fully responded to this, or if my colleagues would also want to add. Anyone wants to add?
Yes, no, I think you did a general. You have. I think we have exhausted the question and the answer in the answer session. This was the only item, Minister, that required a briefing from your department. Maybe you may want to just make a concluding remark, after which I will then thank the department for their presentation this evening. Minister, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. On the issues with the BMA, I think because the BMA is still new, even between the defense proper and BMA, there is still a feel relationship. Jurisdictions, but we will get there. So I think as we get used to working together, things will improve. As to the financial delegations, I think for me, structures and policies, as long as there is an understanding and there is the reporting lines are proper, these matters can be solved. I have been having problems, Chair, with holding heads of arms of services responsible financially until a few weeks back, we took apart the structure and looked at who reports where and why we are not getting joy. There is a problem. And perhaps as we resolve this one about the delegations from the accounting officer right down to the base, we will be able to sneak in this one of the ombuds. It might be as simple as that, but also it might be a thing that General Masonto, even if we do not have money, to create one warm body that is responsible for procurement. We may even call it with a civilian name in your instance. Somebody who's just responsible for that, who can put in, and when they do not get joy, they have somewhere where they can, in the meantime, we can try and cure it in a number of ways. But ultimately, the structure itself, it looks nice when you look at it. Your Secretary for Defense is the accounting officer ultimately, but you do have levels of responsibilities that must take decisions which have financial impact, but then you do not have the financial line with these people who take those serious decisions. And sometimes that's where we go wrong. So hopefully when we finish with the putting together the review of the 2015, putting together, because the president has demanded that we do a financial plan also when we bring it back, we will have found a way of sitting and just tweaking and coming out with the correct report lines. So I think it is not undoable, and the Ombuds is right. Because the cost of employment is so high, everybody gets penalized, even though in some instances we really need to increase the staff in certain parts of the defense and not decrease. But because there is this big cohort of a high cost of employment, the only way we can deal with it is when we now relook at the structures, what needs to be done, and so on and so forth. But for the discussions that I have missed, I apologize, but I did have the Ombuds input with me. So I hope that everything went well. Ombuds, thank you very much for representing us.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Minister. I think you have said it all. Some of the issues are resolvable. Like you say, it's the issue of the ceiling on the compensation of employees, which is a problem. I'm sure in the entity as well as in the department. How you get around that, we leave it to the department, to yourself and the department. But I agree that they need to be assisted so that they are able to spend the money, the operating budget, which is about, I think the expenditure is at 3,000 out of when they should be at 10,000. Sorry, at 3 million. When they should be at 10 million. And they are saying that it's largely because of slow procurement processes. And I know you are looking at means and ways to deal with that. Please have that resolved as quickly as possible before it starts to impact on the performance of the entity. And you like I said, when we started in 2019, it was not clear where, and now it's very clear where you are going. Even your reporting, it speaks, the report itself, it speaks for itself. You can read and comprehend without even have to be assisted with any narration from the authors. I think we thank you very much for that. Minister, thank you very much for your leadership. I think we have come to the end of this presentation, and we'll then move to minutes. You are all free to, Minister, you are free to leave at any time. Military ombuds and other departmental staff, you are free as well. Minister, thank you very much. Ngiyabonga, Minister.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ombuds. Colleagues, can you quickly go to the minutes? How many sets?
Only one set, Chair.
One set. All right. After this set, we must then go back to the funeral service. I think there are two that we had indicated would want to attend. Let's deal with these minutes. On the 22nd of February, it was the deployment. We looked at the program, and we dealt with the minutes and the legacy report and so forth, yeah, and the annual report. This was the attendance. Page 2, thank you. If there are any corrections, colleagues. Page 3. And page 4. All right. Colleagues, I present these minutes for adoption. Can I get a mover and a seconder?
Move, Chair.
Tabo moves. Honorable Tabo moves. Seconded by?
Before Comrade Mutle moves, Chair, I'm sorry, Honorable Mutle.
All right.
I want to check. There has never been a meeting, especially in February, that I missed.
That was last week.
I did not. The only meeting I missed last week was that of defense, where the whip, Comrade Mutle, was informed that I'm still in the portfolio committee of Home Affairs.
Oh,
but
that
the
was
joint
Wednesday.
committee.
You
Yes,
attended this one, yeah. All right. Yeah, I remember seeing your name, Lekwase. You are correct. And please add Lekwase's name.
Okay, we'll do, Chair.
Thank you. All right. So Mutle moved and the Lekwase seconded. No. She can't second because her name. Oh, yes. Because the name would be added. Lekwase seconded. All right. Thank you very much. With that, the minutes are duly adopted. Can I just quickly deal with this thing? That on Saturday, the 2nd, there are two funerals of our fallen soldiers. There's one in Kimberley and the other in Tshwane. I know Mafanya, Lekwase, Bartlett, Mafanya, Lekwase, Bartlett have indicated.
Mutle.
And Mr. Mutle, is Mr. Mutle going to Kimberley as well? All right. So at least I know that these three have confirmed Kimberley, and our intended to go to Tshwane.
Yeah, I'm going to Tshwane with you, Chair.
Oh, you are going to Tshwane as well. So there's 3 in Kimberley and 2 in Tshwane. So am I correct with those numbers, Nandipa?
Yes, Chair, you are correct.
Okay. So these are the three colleagues who would represent the committee on these two funeral services. And the office was attending to logistics, accommodation, and travel. Do you want to talk to that, Nandipa? Please do.
Good evening to the members and to the chair. An update is that the application has been politically approved subject to the committee section finding funds. And currently the committee doesn't have funds, so the finance section of the committee section is busy sourcing funds in order to fund the accommodation and the ground transport for the members who wants to attend the funeral. But for now, it hasn't been confirmed, but we will wait until tomorrow for them to confirm whether they have the funds, but they are still sourcing.
Thank you. I want to believe that you have spoken to each one of the members about their needs, eh? And
Yes,
those
Chair.
have been accommodated in the application.
Yes, Chair.
All right. Okay. All right. So, colleagues, any comment before I thank all of you and close the meeting? No comment. Colleagues, thank you very much. And until we meet again, the meeting stands adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. Thank you.